Hey guys and girls, how's it going? Gen X Gamer here bringing you guys another video, and as you guys know, today was the Black Ops 4 multiplayer reveal, and we have so much stuff to talk about, guys. I'm so excited for this, so let's get into it. Alright guys, so we have a lot of stuff to cover in this video, and I'm going to try to go through it as quickly as I can to kind of give you guys just a summary of what happened and, you know, all the different announcements they made, because there's so much stuff. Zombies, I will probably have to just make another video about that. I'll quickly go over some stuff about it, but it's really cool that they're making a complete new story for zombies for this year as well. But, back to multiplayer. So, as was revealed in the trailer, if you guys saw it, the game is coming out in October this year instead of November, which is very interesting. That happened previously with Battlefield 1, so it's kind of cool to see that they're, you know, trying to launch it earlier on to you know, get more sales, I guess. And that's cool because we get to play it sooner. So it's coming out October 12th this year. So definitely mark that in your calendars, and you know, we'll be anxiously awaiting that day. And there does seem to appear to be a beta for this game coming out as well, so I will definitely be bringing you guys content from that. But the really cool thing about Black Ops, of course, you know, Black Ops has always been one of the most successful series in Call of Duty, and it's definitely been one of my favorites for sure. I always love the Treyarch games because they're just so colorful and vibrant, and it's just so pleasing to play somehow more than the rest. The Treyarch games have always been my favorite. So Black Ops 2 was definitely one of my favorite Call of Duties, and I'm sure many of yours as well. And if for those of you out there who haven't had the chance to play it yet, you guys will get a pretty good taste of, I hope, of what it might have been like in Black Ops 4. So I'm so happy, guys, that this game is confirmed to be 100% boots on the ground, so that's going to be really, really great, kind of reminiscing to those nice Black Ops 2 days and stuff. So it's already a very good start. From the trailer, we did see they have some sliding, grappling, and swimming, so it's going to be a little bit of new stuff, which is kind of cool. I mean, even Black Ops 2, we had like the dolphin dives and things like that, so there's always nice to have a few free-flowing mechanics. They did say during the event that this is going to be a very, you know, flowing and free-flowing type of game, so it's like going to be very fluid, which is very nice. I mean, always the Black Ops games have always been pretty good about that, so I'm definitely excited to see what they come out with. But those are just a few things that I noticed while watching the trailer. So the first interesting thing about the game is health. So how they're going to deal with health is you're going to start out with a little more health than normal, which is good because I always like that in Black Ops games. It always seems like you had a little more life, which is nice, so that if someone you didn't see starts shooting you, you don't just get killed immediately, right? So you have some level of, you know, way to turn around and hopefully try to win that gunfight. So you start with 150 points of health instead of 100 this time, which is definitely good. But the kicker is that the health does not auto-regen in this game, guys. So we've never had this in Call of Duty before. This is kind of more of your Far Cry, these kind of games where you have to keep healing yourself. That's what this game is about. So the health system here is you're gonna have to hit a button, I believe it's L1 for PS4, where you'll have to heal yourself as you get hurt by bullets. So that's like a two-sided coin, of course. You know, they were talking about how if you're an aggressive player, you know, you can take a few hits and keep going and, you know, try to finish off the other person, or if you're a more tactical person, you can hold back, heal yourself, and go back into the gunfight with full health. So it's an interesting thing, and I'm excited to see how that'll play out, because we've never really had that before with Call of Duty, and really multiplayer games in general. It's been quite a while since I've seen that, so that'll be really interesting to see how that goes. The next thing they really talked about was very interesting, was on the mini-map here. There's something called Fog of War that they're calling, and that's basically where you're going to have like a little circle around, you know, it's a certain radius around your player on the mini-map, and that's all that you can actually see on the mini-map. So you can't actually see players across the map, you know, red dots across the map of players shooting way over, and their argument for that was it motivates more team-oriented gameplay if you have to communicate with your team to find out what's going on different corners of the map where you might not be. So your Fog of War kind of limits your mini-map's, you know, vision to just a certain radius around you, and you can only see players on the minimap in that radius. So that is another interesting mechanic. I do like that they're being a little more team focused this time, especially with Call of Duty World War II. It's going back to sort of the classics, which is nice. I mean, but it's more, you know, Call of Duty I've always felt was kind of like a very individual focused game. It's always one person trying to make it to the top of the lobby, but this will be kind of interesting to see their system for kind of making it more of a team-oriented gameplay, kind of like Battlefield, where you know you as a team are trying to you know achieve victory rather than just one person trying to make it to the top of the leaderboard. So that's kind of, it's gonna be kind of interesting to see how that plays out. So this is called Fog of War, and it's just a little smaller circle around your player where you'll get to see only maybe like a few buildings worth of minimap, really. I mean, the rest of it shows up, but it's not relevant information. And then, of course, in this game, specialists are making a return for the sort of like add-on aspect to multiplayer, I suppose you can call it. So, I mean, of course, from Black Ops 3 we had specialists, and a lot of those are coming back, and there are a couple of new ones. But just to review with you, for those of you that may not have played Black Ops 3 or just need a refresher, I'm going to go through all the specialists you know, that we know of so far. So there is the Ruin from Black Ops 3, if you guys remember, and the equipment for that is a grapple. So as I mentioned earlier, in the trailer we see someone grappling toward an enemy and then shooting him, so that's where that comes from. He must have been using the Ruin specialist. So the interesting thing with specialists in this game is that specialists are no longer you don't just choose one specialist per match. You can change in game, which is going to be pretty interesting to see how that plays out. You know, where you can kind of, and I like that idea much better, because it doesn't mean that like you choose one specialist and for like 15 minutes or whatever you're playing, however long the whole match, you're stuck with that one type of specialist. You can keep changing, which is really cool. And so I think that'll be interesting to see how that works. And then the next one, of course, you guys remember the Seraph. So the equipment for that is the tactical spawn. So with this, when you're using this specialist, you can control where you and your team spawns. So it's kind of cool. So once again, we're seeing that sort of team-focused thing come back, and so you can set a tactical spawn and then have your team spawn there as well. So it's going to be very helpful for like domination, search and destroy, this kind of stuff, where you're kind of focusing on a specific part of the map for your objective. You can kind of, you know, set a spawn point maybe closer to what you're trying to get to, which might help. So I like that they're you know, kind of making this a very team focused thing. Each person can, you know, have a specific specialist, and they can all kind of work together to help achieve the goal. And then the final one that's coming back from Black Ops 3 is Firebreak, which is going to be, the equipment for that is a reactor core, which will kind of kill any enemies close by to that reactor core. Kind of look like a tank of something, like a jar tank kind of thing. And you know, so that'll, you just, I guess, set it down or something, and anyone nearby gets killed. So that's always nice to have. And then the new ones for this year are Crash, which is a medic, which is, it's kind of cool to see, because I believe in Battlefield there's a similar medic class, which is kind of cool. So you can help heal your teammates using the Crash specialist, which is kind of like a nice support role. And so I think that's a very cool thing to see in COD this year. And then the last new one, or at least the last new one that we know about so far, is Torque. And Torque's ability is what's called Razor Wire, and you'll see this in the trailer as well, where you can lay out this sort of electric wire. If you guys have played Horizon Zero Dawn, it's a kind of a similar system, looks like, where you can set up these kind of like razor wire traps, and when enemies run through it, they get slowed down significantly. And of course, you know, that, you know, kind of traps them there, and you can, you know, take advantage of that. So if you know the routes of the map, then you can kind of set up these razor wires along main routes, or, you know, kind of sneak them around corners so that enemies will get stuck, and then, you know, you can kind of use that to your team's advantage. So it will be interesting to see these kind of slightly more, you know, team-oriented stuff, and so we'll see how this works out. That razor wire, I don't know, we'll see. It seems like it might be a little bit too intrusive, like, to, you know, but we'll see how that goes. We'll definitely give it a shot before I knock it. So Next, the kind of interesting thing for those of you who play on PC out there, this year they've actually, instead of just porting the game to PC, they actually built the game specifically for PC this year. And according to the event, they tested it on all different kinds of hardware configurations and everything, so that they can try to get you the best sort of setup for whatever type of computer that you might have. And that's really interesting to see, rather than just porting the game over. They're making the PC version kind of unique and different, and it's also going to be exclusively on Battle.net this year from Blizzard rather than Steam. So you'll have to play it on a separate platform. But I mean, that's kind of cool, because I mean, it makes sense that Activision would put their game on the Blizzard platform, because they're, you know, I think sister companies. So it's going to be exclusively on Battle.net this year. But it is very cool to see that they're making a unique version of it for PC rather than just porting the console version, because that's never going to be, like, the control scheme for keyboard mouse is never going to be the same as controller if you just port it. It's going to be awful. So I'm glad that they're kind of focusing on that, on those players this year. And then of course the thing we've all been waiting for, guys, is the announcement of the Battle Royale mode. So of course we all know how big Fortnite has been this past year, and you know, it's like the biggest game out there now. And so of course a lot of, you know, games are trying to chase that popularity, and you know, Battle Royale has been around for a while, and so Call of Duty is bringing us a Battle Royale mode this year, and it's called Blackout. So the interesting thing with this is it looks like there's going to be around 150 or 150 plus players per match, which is kind of crazy, because that's a lot, but we'll see how that goes. So the interesting thing with this is they're going to allow us to play as different characters from previous games, like the previous campaigns, previous zombies cast, I think even the new zombies cast, all that stuff. So there's going to be, you know, players from all the previous Black Ops games and stuff. So that'll be very, very cool to see them come back, and you know, you can choose your characters and, you know, whichever one you like best and stuff. So that'll be very cool to see. And the crazy thing is the map, they said I think it's 1,500 times bigger than Nuketown. And it's going to be a combination of the different previous maps put together, which I'm so excited to see, guys, how that'll go, and how they like stitch different maps together. And you know, it is interesting to see. I mean, I was a little bit skeptical at first when I heard Call of Duty was doing Battle Royale, but they seem to be trying a unique version of it, so we'll see how that goes, and I'm really excited to try it out, and I will definitely bring you guys gameplay when we get to it. So that'll be really cool to see this year. And now the most important part of multiplayer we need to talk about is weapons. So weapons this year are going to be a little, there's a lot of changes to the weapon classes. First off, the pick 10 system is back, which is really cool. It was one of the things I loved about Black Ops. Was having the pick 10 system is just, it's so nice, because you can kind of set up different classes to have different strengths. Especially if you're like, you know, you want one to be like crazy attachments heavy for your primary weapon, you can just throw a bunch of attachments on it, or you can, you know, like you can have different setups, and that's like a really nice way to let you choose what strengths each class is going to have. But the interesting thing this year is there are a couple of variations to the weapons classes. So you have your traditional assault rifles, and you have something called tactical assault rifles. Your typical submachine guns, you know, light machine guns, sniper rifles, and those are all considered primary weapons. But the interesting thing this year is that shotguns are considered secondary. I don't know how I feel about that, because that means you could have a class that's basically assault rifle or submachine gun and shotgun in the same class, and you could be that annoying kid who runs around just popping people with a shotgun and then pulling out your assault rifle and hitting the distance shots too. So we'll have to see how that goes. It's an interesting choice, it's a bold choice. We'll see how that works out. But shotguns are going to be at least secondary weapons this time, so it should make for some interesting class setups. And then there's a new gear section for the classes, which allows things like for health protection, like body armor, stem packs. That might be maybe for like your crash specialist, maybe, or just probably stem packs just for healing yourself, because the The whole, I mean, everybody can heal themselves because remember the health is not going to auto regen this time. And then we also have something called an acoustic sensor, which I think was in Ghosts, something similar to that, where you can kind of see and hear enemies very easily. In the trailer you see like the white highlights pop up around the enemies through the walls, or like if you walk into a dark room you can see people easily. So they are bringing in a little bit of future technology, because they said Black Ops 4 is placed between Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3. And like Black Ops 2 I believe was like 2025, and Black Ops 3 was pretty crazy into the future, like at least by a couple hundred years or something. So it will be kind of a good mix. It looks like it's a good mix of future technology, you know, like because it's right in the middle of those two games. And next we have so the interesting thing here is there's no more of a system of attachments being based on the type of class of weapon you're using. So like all submachine guns have these certain list of, you know, attachments, and all assault rifles have these attachments. It's now attachments are specific to the actual gun that you're using. So which makes for a very interesting kind of unique class setup system, because each gun has a specific set of attachments only associated with that gun rather than just the class. So that'll be kind of an interesting change to see how that plays out. And then we have so there's no so the new feature here is for recoil. They've come out with an interesting feature, is that it's recoil is no longer kind of random, because I mean in the past, you know, like there was a set recoil pattern, but it kind of just went whichever way it felt like, I mean within a certain range. But this year they're doing something called predictive recoil, which is going to be kind of allows it to be like, I'm not completely clear on what the concept is, but they said that you can kind of learn the gun as you use it more and are better able to control the recoil because the pattern is a little more consistent. I don't know why they call that predictive then, but it hopefully should make gameplay more consistent, which brings me back to the other point that League play is returning this year, guys. So, I mean, of course, for those of you who play competitive, you know, Black Ops has always had League play, and it is coming back, or, you know, Black Ops 2 and stuff had League play. It's coming back for Black Ops 4, which is very, very cool to see. But yeah, so they're doing something called predictive recoil this year. We'll see how that goes, and hopefully that means less patching and all kinds of crazy stuff, because it feels like every few weeks or every month there's a new patch for new recoil or adjusting guns. So hopefully that gives them a little less work to do. But anyway, now that we're coming to the end of the video, guys, I will give you a quick stuff that we heard about zombies, but I'll probably have to make that into a separate video because I know this is getting a little long and there's so much stuff to talk about this game. But Zombies is apparently restarting its storyline for Black Ops 4. So if you guys see the trailer, it kind of, there's a whole new cast now, and so they're on their own different journey now, and I believe they're launching with 3 or 4 maps on day 1, which is pretty crazy. And so I'm definitely excited to see that, and I will definitely bring you guys, you know, as much information as I can when we find out, and gameplay as soon as that comes out. So definitely like the video, guys, if you guys you know, learned something and, you know, enjoyed this. I will definitely bring you guys more information as soon as we find out. And yeah, please subscribe, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.